Welcome to the Africa2100 Podcast, where we demystify entrepreneurship to make it accessible to the person on the street. I'm your host, Chudi Obiaya. This season, we are following the journey of those who were previously in the diaspora, but since returned and are building impactful ventures on the continent. Today's episode uncovers why failure isn't the end for founders. It's the foundation for future success. Our guest today is Chete Nwanze. Welcome, Chete.
Thank you, Chide. How are you? Good day.
I'm well. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Could you start off by helping us understand what does Chete mean?
It's actually short for Chitechuku. Chitechuku means remember God in my language, it's Igbo language. I'm from Ibuzo.
Remember. And hopefully you remember God all the time.
All the time, always.
So, Chete, can you tell us about who is Chete? How will you describe yourself to our audience in what you do?
That's quite a complex question because there's Chete, the worker, there's Chete, the entrepreneur, there's Chete, the father, Chete, the husband. So there's plenty Chete. So which Chete do you want to know? All summarized.
We have time for you. So you tell us whichever one you think we ought to know.
Okay.
Introduce yourself to us.
Okay. Well, like you said, Chete is the name. I'm an American Nigerian, meaning I was born in America, born in Houston, Texas, actually, to a Nigerian father and an American mother, way back when. Quick summary, now I'm an entrepreneur, been back home to Nigeria since 2003. I left Nigeria in 1989, came back home 2003, about 22 years ago. So I've run a couple of companies here in Nigeria, worked for a couple of places. And here I am today trying to grow my business to the next level. So that's a quick.
Is there any childhood memory that informed where you are today and your focus on entrepreneurship and building ventures? Any childhood memories you can remember?
Of course. So the one that always comes to mind when I think about entrepreneurship and running a business is actually as children, myself and my sisters, we actually assisted my mother in running one of the first Christmas hamper businesses. This was back in the early 80s. She was doing hampers for different organizations, Coca-Cola and the rest. And she would always call us, the landlines were there. So she would call us from our office and tell, look, make 25 naira hampers, 50, 10 naira hampers, back then. That's how it was. And, we always kept the numbers and, that's, I think, where myself and my sisters actually learned about running a business, about, doing your own thing, financial security, as financial independence, because we were working for her back then. They call it child labor today, but we were working and our allowances would come from there. So it was beautiful. So that's one thing that my mother's has always been an entrepreneur. My dad also, but my mother more so than he, because she started earlier than he did, running their own businesses. So my parents.
When your mother tapped you on the shoulder to help out with her hamper business, what feelings did that evoke in you back then?
Well, actually, I was excited because, while telling me to do that, she already promised that my allowance would be better than what it used to be.
Incentives.
Incentive, yeah. So whenever she called, we were excited. We made the hampers quickly and lined them up, and they'll come and the drivers will come and pick them up, and later on we'll be incentivized very well. Yeah, so it wasn't a big deal. Anything mom asked us to do, and I had an older sister and a younger sister. a very strong older sister, so strong personality. So it wasn't a big deal at all. We just did what we had to do and help mom out.
So tell us, how did you come to the decision to leave the country to go out and go to school?
Well, my elder sister left in 1986. She was a couple of years older. She's a couple of years older than me. And so when it got to my turn, I guess my mother convinced my dad, that I should go. And so I left in 89. I did last 6 months of high school there because I got there in January I entered December 89, but got to Minnesota January of 1990, January 2nd or so. And I finished the last 6 months of high school there. I did the 12th grade, finished it up there again. So it was my parents' decision.
Did you say Minnesota and January?
Yes, I said Minnesota and January. Unfortunately for me.
How did you handle that transition with the cold
it was
in
horrible.
Minnesota in January?
Horrible. I'll give you a good funny story. I landed at the airport. It was about the 2nd or so of January. My family friend Mohammed was supposed to pick me up. As I landed, my name was announced. I should pick up one of the phones. I picked them up, and he said I should take the Radisson bus to Radisson in the Twin Cities from the airport. I couldn't get to the airport, that will go from there, is near the house. So I came outside the doors, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? I was told I was going to be cold, so I brought a windbreaker, thinking a windbreaker will stop that cold. That burning cold. That's what I couldn't understand. It was burning. And it's supposed to be cold. Got to Radisson and he said it's just down the street. And we walked about 5 blocks in that weather. Got frostbite in my ear and my toe. So that was my first day in Minnesota.
Welcome to America.
Wow. It was crazy. Crazy. But yeah, so I went to Minnesota first, and then later I went to Atlanta, and I finished school in Atlanta at Georgia State University.
Are there any memories from the duration in Minnesota or Atlanta? Because you were now in college after you completed high school.
Yeah.
Made a transition to college.
Yes. Very good memories on both sides. Minnesota was I was on a scholarship in Minnesota from the high school. The 6 months I went to high school, I did some programs, and I got awarded a scholarship for about 3 years, 4 years. So it was good. The summer programs were really good. I was in the biological sciences program there, and my second summer or so, I did some research on nitrosomonas. It's a nitrifying bacteria, and so we did a lot of original research to find the oxidation rate of nitrosomonas. My mentor and the owner of the lab then, who ran the lab, was Professor Hooper, and so he was doing that, and he actually gave me some credit when he wrote the paper in the Biochemistry Journal of the U.S. way back when. So yeah, so that was very memorable for me.
So your major was biochemistry.
I finished with biochemistry, but some years later at Georgia State. Biochemistry,
Okay.
yes.
Why did you make the shift or the move from Minnesota to Atlanta,
Well,
Georgia?
I actually got burnt out with school. The scholarship was only for a limited period, and it didn't go all the way. I was supposed to reapply, and then I took the MCATs because the idea was that I was going to go to medical school. And I didn't do well in the MCATs the first time. That was the first time I failed any exam, and I just said, okay, let me work for a little while. And I was working. I was already working while I was in school, but work full time and whatnot. And actually left school for about 5 years. Moved to Atlanta. I moved with some of my cousins to Atlanta, and I started working there. Then went back to school at Georgia State and finished the degree. So I think I was just young. I wasn't quite focused, wasn't really ready. Needed a break from school, then went back and finished.
So when you finished, did you return immediately or did you have any work experiences?
Yeah. So before I finished, I had worked a few places, but the um, last few jobs I had while I was still rounding up at Georgia State, I worked for DFACS, Department of Family and Children Services for Georgia. Then I worked for Compact Computers. Compact Computers, back then I started off as a tech support staff member, and grew within a year to team lead. I did that. Then of course HP acquired Compact, and some of us lost our jobs, and middle management lost our jobs. And I went to Nissan. That was the last job that I worked before coming back home. I worked at Nissan. So Nissan as a sales and finance manager uh, in one of the Nissan of Union City in Atlanta there. So those were the last three jobs I worked from 97 to 2003 when I left. And I moved back in June 2003.
When did you begin to think, okay, I'm going to go back home?
So,
What's for that?
okay. So in 2001, I came to Nigeria for the funeral of my grandmother's funeral. And at that time, my father was about 2 years into running or owning Icon Stockbrokers, which is a stockbroking firm. And the chairman, I got very close to. We did a lot of talking. And he said, look, you have to come back home. You have to come back home, And my dad also thought it was a good idea for me to come. My mother was pushing heavily for me to move back home. So the family wanted me back home. I thought, okay, what am I, I'm working here. I had a family already. Let me go and see how it will be, and then decide and finally, move. And so that was pretty much it in 2001. So I took the next couple of years to figure myself out. And in 2003, I took the plunge.
What was the plan for your return?
So the plan, my uncle was at that time owned a oil and gas firm here in Nigeria, on the marketing side, the downstream side mainly. I think they had some assets too on the upstream. And so we had talked about me trying to trade in the oil and gas side, also to start a business with regards to the agricultural space. Those were two major things. And of course, the last was to learn and get some tutelage in the investment banking and stockbroking side of things, so that I could also work in that field and probably succeed my old man, my dad. So
there wasn't really any entrepreneurial plans
that time,
or aspect of it upfront before you got home?
no, not really, no.
Okay. So where did that come from, and when did that hit you?
So like I said, I've always been an entrepreneurship minded kind of person. While I was in school in the US, I always tried to trade. I used to buy and sell African clothes. We'll bring it from Nigeria and sell there. And we did a lot of, fashion shows and all of that while I was in the States. But when I came back home, a lot of younger people my age were working 9 to 5s. And their 9 to 5s weren't really 9 to 5s. I mean, they were getting to the office by 7 and getting off work by 8, 9 o'clock. They were wearing suits and ties, and and I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do permanently. I always knew that. Mind you, I'd been working right from 17 while I was in the States till 30s, while I came, from the Burger Kings and nursing assistant jobs. I'd done all that. So I knew I wanted some kind of financial freedom. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I knew I was going to learn investment banking and financial services generally. And I knew I also loved the agricultural space. Where in that space I wanted to play, I wasn't sure, but I knew I wanted to be in the agro-commodities or agricultural agribusiness space. So the first business that I started was I bought 2 trailers, of course, support from my parents, obviously. I bought 2 trailers and I was loading them at the major ports in Lagos, Tinkan Island. So we did that. I did that for a while. While I was doing that, then I started buying um, palm kernel, you know, and we did that. I supplied to Bisa Fedin, a company here in Lagos. I was buying it in the interlands in Ore, Ondo State. That's
So before you go much further, let me jump in here, Chete. What's prompted you to go down that path?
okay. So I know people in that sector, and I have somebody that's actually been in the cocoa space for a very long time. It was running a French cocoa trading company then, or commodities trading company that were exporting then. He still runs it till today, actually. And so having a lot of conversations with him, telling him what I want to do, he said, okay, I should start with palm kernel instead of cocoa. That cocoa was kind of tricky. I had a cousin who was also the president of the Cocoa Association of Nigeria, who took me to different areas where there is cocoa in Nigeria, both in the southwest and in the south, in Ikon and in Ore, Ondo State. So that's what really pushed. I already told you I liked the agricultural space. I already knew I liked that space already. So that's
So you
what
done
pushed.
some homework.
Yeah, I did a little bit of homework.
Okay.
I learned later I didn't do enough homework, but I did a little bit.
Okay.
So that's what prompted me to go into palm kernel. It was cheap. So it was a cheaper crop to do. I didn't need so much capital. And I already had the trucks. So I had one truck assigned to it almost permanently that I used to bring the goods back and forth. So that's how we started.
So you made this investment, capital investment in the truck, and you'd done your homework, done the research, and given some of what you'd understood, it was attractive and appealing. How did it go?
The truck side or the palm kernel side?
The palm kernel, all right.
Oh, the palm kernel went bust very quickly. Less than 6 months. The last time I went to buy, because they'll tell you, I will bring it to the main. I had somebody I was using his warehouse in town, so they will go to the interlands and bring. And they brought very old kernel there was no oil in it. That was dead. But what they had done, they had used old motor oil after servicing the car. They used oil and they poured it on the kernel, and so it looked glistening and everything. So he thought, oh, there's a lot of oil here. It's good. And I took it. I think it was 2 trailer loads at that time. Brought to Lagos, and they refused the kernel. They said, no, this is engine oil. This is engine oil. By the time I got back there was where I was going to transport it back, and it would have just been a major loss. I sold it for about a third of what I paid for it. A third or a fourth of what I paid for it. So if I had bought it, for example, ₦1 million, then I sold it for about 300K to somebody else, So it was terrible. It was terrible. And that's when I left palm kernel. That was like
So you said they refused to take. Who's the they?
I supplied to a company that crushed the oil, that crushed the kernel and got the oil for different things they used it for. It was the oil that they needed from the kernel. But immediately they saw it and tested it very quickly. They said, "There's no oil. This is engine oil that was put there." So it was painful.
Is this what you were referring to when you talked about not doing enough due diligence?
100%.
Homework.
100%. I didn't do enough homework, and I wasn't ready to engage in the entire value chain. That's what you need if you're going, especially if you're going to play in that space. You have to be in the entire value chain. You have to understand the entire supply chain. Yes, maybe not farming, but from the bringing it to the processing it to, you have to be involved. You have, and what you want to be involved in the most is understanding the people. Understanding the people you need to get close to. Because at the end of the day, after a while, you're still going to have to rely on those partnerships to trust that either your warehouse manager is going to be honest, or one of your interland aggregators is going to be decent. And it really does not matter on how well you pay, the security you have. You're going to turn your back at some level, at some point. You're not going to sleep in the interlands all night, So those were some of the mistakes we made, and got punished for it quite well. But it wasn't a lot of money. That was a good thing. If I can imagine if I had put like 10, 15 million in a trailer load of cocoa and I got messed up, I might have come back to the States.
When you talk about the need to understand the entire value chain, what are some of the risks you are mitigating against, or you're trying to avoid?
So you have your aggregation risk. Your aggregators who are in the interlands, are they going to aggregate from real, actual farmers, or are they going to aggregators? There'll be a difference in the pricing. We're not sure where those other aggregators are coming from. So I was going to be the last aggregator, just one step away from my interland aggregator. So I was going to be in town getting. So he's supposed to be aggregating from farmers. You don't need to have a middle aggregator. It's going to be a serious issue that is aggregating from an aggregator. So that aggregator he should be aggregating from, you should be the person liaising directly with them, so you know who you're dealing with. So that's the aggregation risk. The supply, in fact, your supply side risk. Your own supply side. That's the major issue, because that entails the quality of the produce you're getting, being able to control the same thing, quality assurance and all of that, which are the major things. Theft, all of that. Then another risk really would be at your warehouse. Who is being let into your warehouse? How do you stop contamination at the warehouse? You are successful all the way to your warehouse. So lab testing. You have to be able to test your produce and make sure you know what you have there at the warehouse. Being able to fumigate the warehouse in case you have to store for a period of time before moving to your off-taker. So fumigation, proper warehouse maintenance, and then of course, one of the biggest in Nigeria, logistics issues. A lot of aggregators in Nigeria don't use insurance. But of course, coming from where I'm coming from, I have GIT insurance, goods in transit insurance on everything I'm moving from point A to point B. I have to be safe and be protected, And so you hear stories of people losing, trailers catching on fire, theft on the trailer in transit from the north to Lagos, for example. Sometimes that journey takes up to 6-7 days if you're unlucky. And you hear horror stories. I've been lucky so far. I haven't had that issue on that the logistics side of things. But yes, so those are the type of risks we're trying to mitigate.
If you have a business idea but feel overwhelmed or unsure where to begin, you are not alone. Arise, powered by D2V, helps aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those starting from scratch, move from idea to action through a clear step-by-step path to building a real business with practical guidance and mentor support along the way. If you're tired of guessing and ready for structure, clarity, and momentum, explore the Arise mobile app. You can find Africa2100 Arise on the Google Play Store today and take your next step with confidence.
How has that initial learning, because it sounds like you had, um, you paid a small fee for the quick learning. How has that informed everything else, your subsequent ventures? Draw the line from that to what you're doing now and all of the different ventures which you've initiated ever since.
Okay. So I how it helped me from 2005, which was when this happened to me, to 2020, just after COVID, the COVID shutdown, was when I now decided, okay, let me go back in. You know, you've always wanted this. And I'd still been talking to my cousin who runs a cocoa exporting firm here in Nigeria. And so I've been talking to him and he said, okay, do ginger. Let's try ginger. I buy ginger. That's him. He buys ginger. So go get ginger for me. You know, in fact, he said, I'll introduce you to somebody who's going to, you know, when I order 2 trucks from him, you just take one of those trucks, you're paying for one of those trucks, so you don't have to really go into Kaduna, which is where the ginger is in southern Kaduna with all the terrorists and the, what do they call them? The cattle headers issues and, you know, the insecurity in the area. You don't have to go in. And I said, I have to go in. I have to be there. And that's one of the things that I told you I learned. I have to be there. Yeah, it would have been easy for me to say, okay, this person will just take my money and go bring me a trailer of ginger. But so eventually, I went to Southern Kaduna. It was crazy. At first, I just went into one of the towns and I was buying in that town. I was sitting there while the aggregator was buying and bringing it to the well. I was there. When they were cleaning, I was there. You know, but it was so slow. It was way too slow. And I didn't understand exactly what was going on. And the first trailer, it took me a month to do a trailer. The first trailer got to Lagos and my off-taker was like, oh no, this is horrible quality. Horrible quality. Was complaining. And I was there. So there's something called mozo in ginger, which is the sliced part of the ginger. The ginger I was selling was sliced, dried ginger. So we were having serious issues with that. And then I met someone, you know, who today is my partner. It's a long, very funny story. I met him. And I met him. And he said, Chete, look, we cannot sit here. He also went to school in, I think he did 2 of his masters out of the country, Malaysia or somewhere like that. He said, you can't sit here and be doing this. He's from Kano. He said, I buy my ginger from the farmers. The aggregators are also farmers. We have to go into the interlands. I said, there's no way I can go there now. That's where all the terrorists are and they are killing people. He said, don't listen to the stories. He said, I'm not saying that they aren't, but let's go. Let's go. So you see who is there. And we went to the farm side. And nothing but Indians and Chinese sitting right there, buying directly. And so I started buying. We put a warehouse there. We partnered, brought our resources together. That was early 2021, and we still are partners today. So I now understood all of a sudden I couldn't do a trailer a month. Now I was doing 10 trailers a month because I was where the ginger was, clean ginger, like because I was happy. My off-taker was happy. And so that helped me with quality, you know, having gone through the process before, having understood that if I'm not there, there's not going to be an issue. But I didn't even understand that I must face whatever I need to face. If I can't face it, if I couldn't go to that front, then there was no need. There would have been too many what ifs, you know, too many variables that would have been unchecked and, you know, where I would have no control. So that's when I got there was when I started really making money and really having an impact on farmers in poverty directly, you know. I was able to, myself and my partner, we increased what the salaries of people that, because it's mostly women that are doing the slicing of the ginger and washing and all of that mostly. So we increased salaries. We did a lot to impact families there. So that's where my journey, this second journey in agro-commodities started from. Now I do ginger, I do hibiscus, I do sesame, I do soya beans, I do rice paddy. I do it all from anything from the north. We pretty much do it. So we're now getting into innovation and technology to enhance our processes, and that's the next journey.
Tell us about that innovation and the leveraging of technology to accelerate your journey or skill.
Okay, so some of the things that we're looking at right now is putting together. We have a fintech application that we're working on that we're trying to enhance farmer supply and also enhance farmer visibility. So, for example, we've gotten a list of about almost 2,000 farmers now, and we're going to put them in that app. So farmers will be able to say, I have 10 tons, 5 tons of ginger, turmeric, whatever. You can pick up today, tomorrow, of any, and then we'll have people that will go out and actually start the aggregation process that way for all the commodities we have. We're trying to do something with the government where warehouse receipting funding. So once we have private or government-owned warehouses or silos, as soon as the farmer drops the commodities, they will immediately issue a bankable warehouse receipt that they can take to the bank and get funding immediately and go back and continue farming or whatever they need to do while they're even waiting for it to be sold. So they don't have to have that lag time between harvest and sales and all of that, or storage issues or any of that, which there's a lot of loss in the agro-commodity space here too. So that's where we're starting from, trying to innovate on that side and see if we can use technology to push the business a little bit further.
And what are some of the headwinds which you're encountering or you're going to encounter? Because that's very forward thinking, the leveraging the technology for that efficiency and productivity.
Yeah, so we know that it's been done in other African countries. First things first, you have to think about power supply, because most of those areas don't have power. So where are you going to charge your phone, for example? So you have to also start looking at those type of things. Of course, there are plenty of options. There are solar charging points that there are other places where it's worked. In West Africa, there are solar charging points where farmers just come charge their telephones that will be assigned to them for this purpose. Charge their telephones for however many hours they need it. So those are the type of issues that we'll have. You can't access the technology without that. Also, education. You still have to teach and educate the users on how to use the product and all of that. So we go around, trying to teach. The other things we've not finalized this product. We're just working on it. So we have a deck already put together for it, actually. So those are the type of things we're working on right now.
What's exciting you about building ventures in Nigeria?
Building ventures in Nigeria. So we just talked about one of the businesses, which I actually founded on with regards to agro trading. The first one to do it within the family, that is. But on the other side is the financial services, of which I've succeeded my dad now. He's the chairman. I run it as the CEO. So I have both sides, both the agro side and the finance side. So I want to use the finance side to answer that. on what is exciting, because I'm doing the same thing. Fintech apps already built on it on this side, on the finance side. So what's exciting is our population. What's exciting is the non-inclusion in certain spaces. For example, in our capital market right now, mainly because of the burn of 2008, you have less than 10% of our populace, 200 million people, participating in the capital market. So there's a lot of opportunity. So it's about really using, I have my fintech app from setting up an account to trading, you do it yourself, to, like the Robin Hoods in the US and the rest. So we have that going. We're partnered with a US firm, another app to trade US stocks also, to give at least Nigerians able to have that diversity with regards to trading. So the exciting thing is the population. Exciting thing is the very technology savvy youth in Nigeria, and the upscale opportunity, really, with regards to that. There isn't a lot of competition in that space, in the fintech space right now. Not a lot. There is some, but not a lot.
On the flip side, what are some of the debts that are unique to the environment that which entrepreneurs like you will see as opportunities, probably, that one needs to overcome to successfully start up a venture?
Okay, when you say debts, what are you talking
Debts, challenges uh, that are unique to that environment, from an entrepreneurial perspective.
The major challenge is fundraising, right? So as an entrepreneur in Nigeria, by the time you start approaching the commercial banks, for example, you're looking at a net 35 to 38% interest rate. To collateralize all those loans are going to it's going to be too expensive. So most entrepreneurs, raising money is the major issue. So some of us have grown organically, and there are some, because I'm in that space, because I'm in the finance space, I know there are some like private equity firms that you can approach, venture capitalist funds that you can approach, but you have to really know them. So like you said, it's an opportunity for some of us trying to raise money. So we can, approach them, although it's still not very easy. So that's the major thing, is raising funding. Once you get past understanding the operational issues and all of that, funding is one of the biggest, if not the biggest.
But isn't funding a big issue irrespective, also in the global north? What is more challenging out there than what is experienced in the global north?
So I've set up an agro-commodities farm in the US, right? Trying to see how I can have that synergy, when I start to export to the US. I export now to other countries. When I'm trying to export, I want to export to the US. So I set up a sister company there. And funding in the US is a little bit different, for example. With the right credit rating, you can build your credit over time, the credit of your company, and you can raise funding for, and once you start small, you can get larger over time. It's not like that here. The credit bureaus are just coming up now in Nigeria. So that's why it's a lot tougher. And the MPR, the rates are too high. It's very tough for businesses. At 35%, it's ridiculous. Well, how much is your return? What's the ROI of the business? So I don't have any money from the banks.
That's helpful. Thanks for that clarity. From a community perspective, how are you or your ventures impacting the local community?
So there's a whole lot more impacting that we're doing with regards to the agro-commodity space, like I said, is more of an impoverished area because they're the farms, they're the farmlands. And this is northern Nigeria, although all farmlands are, farming communities are like this. So is subsistence farming, most of them do. So what we've done is we have actually sponsored front funding of commodities. I have a few farmers that will give money up front. We buy your commodities. If at the time of harvest, prices are up and we see it, we know what's going on, we'll definitely increase what we are paying you per ton. But at least I've done it 2 seasons now on the sesame side. And then we offtake that from them. So that helps them to have funding throughout the farming season. Like I said, we increased the wages for people that were doing manual labor, like slicing of ginger and the rest, because we're not big enough yet that we have slicing machines. We're not doing those type of volumes yet. We're trying to grow to that. So there are individuals actually slice, and it's mostly in the north, it's mostly women. And so we assist them with that. We have myself and my partner have put together some scholarship for certain level of individuals that to assist with school fees and the rest. I mean, in those parts of the country, interlands of the country, is a lot cheaper, of course, education wise. So we've done some things with that also. So it's mostly in that area. On the finance side, we've done some internship partnering with NYSC, which I wouldn't really call that community-based assistance, not really. But we've done different things along those lines. But it's mainly on the agro side that we do that. Quite impactful there.
As you look back at your journey and reflect, are there any things that come to mind that you wish to share with us?
That I would have done different.
Either way, as you look back,
Yes.
anything?
So the major thing is I should have come back a little slower. See, I was lucky. I had a very strong family support system. Out of 3 of us who were in the States, I was the first really to move back. And so my parents, they supported me as much as I needed to be supported. But what I would have done was to move back a little bit slower. And I advise my friends now, take 3-4 years to move back, except if you're getting a job that is paying you, $100,000 kind of job, of course, that there's no issue there. But if you're coming with regards to entrepreneurship, come back, look at, what you think you would like to do 3 months, 4 months, search, do your research, meet people that are doing it, do your networking, and take time to set it up. Take time to set it up, to try different things. I have a couple of people that are doing that now, and push different narratives and just prepare for and understand that value chain and what you need, what you really need. So that's what I would have done differently. I would have just picked up and left the US. It would have been easier. Assimilation would have been easier for me. But still,
no, please finish.
Still no regrets, though. Still no regrets.
Music to my ears.
Still no.
Any additional counsel you would give or guidance to others who want to walk a similar or take a similar journey as you did?
Funding. Go and look. There's plenty international funding out there. There is. But you have to look for it. I have a couple of people that have got international funding while they're coming back, depending on what you're trying to do. There's a climate change guy, a friend of mine in Ghana, and he raised money from Europe, some organization. So look for that type of funding and see what you can get right up front, and it will make life easier, definitely.
So as I want to give you an opportunity to have any final word, and before you do so, I also want to say that people don't know the name of your company to begin with. So maybe you want to tell us what's the name of your company. I know it's not a secret; it's just an oversight. So
Definitely.
as you share with us your final words, if
Okay.
you could just let our audience know
Okay.
what's the name of your company.
Sure. The name of the company is Metronome. In Nigeria is Metronome Investment Services Limited. We own about 60% of the shareholding in Icon Stockbrokers, which is a major stake in Icon Stockbrokers. That was the major thing that it was set up for at some point. And also now we run the agricultural agribusiness organization with assets in machines for cleaning, agro-commodities, and warehouses. So those are the names. Then in the U.S. is Metronome USA LLC, registered in Tennessee, where my mom is from. So final words. Nigeria, I'm going to speak specifically to Nigeria. Nigeria is a place where, given patience, if you can take your time and agree to learn the ropes and stick with it, most people don't make it overnight. But if you're patient, give it time, live as simply as possible, especially through your growth phase. I think it's a very successful place to be. We have over 200 million people. Majority of that are young people, very bright young people, by the way, very, very bright young people. So it's a good place to be right now. Very good place to be. Final words.
Thank you, Chete.
Thank you.
So you heard that your lessons, your failures, is not the death knell. It's just a big key lesson that informs or becomes the foundation for your future success, as we've heard from Chete. And if planning to walk the same journey and take the same footsteps as he did, his recommendation is take it slowly. Understand not just the environment, but also the value chain. Know what you're getting into, and also try to line up the financing, because that's going to be key, because it's a tough world out there trying to get the funding. So again, my name is Chudi Obiaya, and thank you for listening. We hope you will remember to subscribe. Click on that button so that you don't miss our next episode.